In this video, we're going to start talking about mean, median, range, 5-number summary, and quartiles, and we're going to move on to box plots. So when we talk about this, these are known as our central tendencies. If we're looking for the mean of a list of numbers, all you want to do is add up the numbers, add up every single number in the list, and then you're going to divide by the amount of numbers. And I'll show you an example of this in a second. But basic idea, you've seen this before. This is what you would probably call average. So if there are 10 numbers, you'd add up all 10 numbers, and then you would divide by 10. If there was 11 numbers, you would divide by 11. The range is going to be whatever the maximum number is, the biggest number, and you're going to subtract the minimum number. The range is only going to be one value. So if your biggest number is 100 and the largest number is 20, the range would be 80. The median, first thing you want to do is you want to put the numbers in order from least to greatest. And then when you find the median, you're actually going to find the middle number. And I always say to everybody, if you think of the median of a highway, that's the middle of the highway. That's the divider usually that divides the highway in half. That's what your median is going to be here too. And we'll see all examples of these in a second. Now we talk about our 5-number summary. Well, our 5-number summary is going to start with the minimum, the smallest number in the list. Then it's going to go to what we call our first or lower quartile. And we'll talk about what that is in a second. I spell quartile down there. Then my median, which we just said is the middle of the list. Then it's going to go to my third or my upper quartile. And then the maximum, the largest number. And those 5 numbers are going to be referred to as our 5-number summary. So the question is, what is our quartile? Well, our quartile, our first quartile, also known as our lower quartile, is basically the median of the lower half of the list. So if you were to cut the list in half, that would be the median of the lower half, with the third quartile or the upper quartile being the median of the upper half. So let's look at examples of what this is. Okay, so let's look at an example here. If you look at the list up here, we have a list of numbers that's already in numerical order. Well, if we're going to find the mean of that list, all we have to do is take the list of numbers and add them up. So 14 plus 15 plus 16, 17, 18, 18, 18, all the way up. When you add up all those numbers, you're going to get the number 356. If you count how many numbers there are there, you're going to realize that there are 17 numbers in our list. So we're going to divide that number by 17. And it is going to give us a decimal. Just round that decimal to 1 decimal place. So in this case, my mean is 20.9. Well, how do we find our range? Well, our range just simply says, take the biggest number, the maximum, in this case 30, take the smallest number, the minimum, 14, subtract them, and you have yourself a range of 16. Well, now we want to find the median. Well, as we said before, there are 17 numbers in the list. If I was to go to the 9th number in the list, and the reason I'm picking the 9th number is because there are 8 numbers prior and there are 8 numbers after. So it's the exact middle number in the list. That number is going to be my median. So in this case, my median is going to end up being 21, because it's the number that is right in the middle of the list. This is after you put them in numerical order. Well, now, how do we find the first quartile? Well, for the first quartile, we're going to focus on just the lower half. In the lower half, there are 8 numbers down there. So forget the rest of the list exists. You're only focusing from 14 to 20. If there's an even amount of numbers, there are actually 2 middle numbers. To find the first quartile or the lower quartile, all you want to do, if there are 2 numbers, if there are 2 middles, add them up and divide by 2. So my first quartile is 17.5. I do the same thing at the top. I end up with 2 middle numbers. So for me to find my third quartile, or my median of the upper half, my upper quartile, I would add those 2 numbers together and divide by 2. So in this case, I get an upper quartile of 24.5, which means my 5-number summary is my minimum, 14, my lower quartile, 17.5, my median, 21, my upper quartile, 24.5, and my maximum, 30. So as you remember here, our 5-number summary is our minimum, our lower quartile, our median, our upper quartile, and our maximum. Now to find what we know as what's called the interquartile range, the IQR, all you have to do is take the upper quartile and subtract the lower quartile. And our interquartile range is going to be 7. I'm going to do one more example. If you want to watch it, you're more than welcome to. So looking at an additional example here, we have 14 numbers in this list, from 48 up to 80, already in numerical order. If we add them up, we're going to end up with 855 if we add up the numbers 48 plus 48 plus 50 and so on and so forth. There are 14 of them, so if I divide by 14, I find a mean of 61.1. If I want to find my range, I take my biggest number and I subtract my smallest number. So 80 minus 48 is 32. I now have my range. My median, since I have 14 numbers in even amount, I know that there's going to be 2 middle numbers. And these 2 middle numbers are 58 and 59. And what we said is if we have 2 middle numbers, we add them up and divide by 2. Essentially, you're splitting the difference there. So we end up with 58.5 as my median. Now, because 58.5 would fall right where I put that dark line, everything before that is my lower half. In my lower half, there's clearly a middle number. 52 is the middle number of my lower half. So my lower quartile, or my first quartile, is 52. My upper half, 59, 64, 65, up to 80, there's clearly a middle number there, and that's the number 69. And there is my upper quartile. And now my 5-number summary is going to be 48 because it's my smallest number, 52, which is my first quartile, 58.5, which we said was our median, 69, which is our upper quartile, and 80, which is our largest number. That's going to be our 5-number summary. Your minimum, first quartile, lower quartile, median, upper or third quartile, maximum. And to find the IQR, you take the 2 quartiles and you subtract them. Any questions, please reach out.